Hello everyone. Today I'm going to go through the tokenomics of Qredo. Qredo, I've written an article about this a while ago, and Qredo is kind of a institutional focused solution, which I think is really interesting. They envision themselves sort of at the cross section between Thorchain, which is a decentralized exchange, or a centralized a blockchain that enables a decentralized exchange, and on the other side something like Fireblocks, which offers multi-party computation. And it really goes into this dilemma, I think, of would you rather hold your own keys and be at the risk of losing them, or would you want to put your funds into custody of an exchange, even though it might even be an institutional exchange like Coinbase Professional or whatever that's called, and basically trust them to take care of your keys and your tokens, right? So that's kind of the dilemma that we have. You either hold your own keys or you entrust them to someone else. If you have them your own, you can lose them. If the institution has it, they might lose it, but they might be better at storing it or securing it or whatever. So they kind of said, why can't we have the best of both worlds? And there's this technology called multi-party computation. And yeah, it's again like something super fancy based on cryptography, where you, in really simple terms, you distribute parts of the key that have access to a wallet onto multiple parties. And Qredo's driven this even further and said, like, hey, we're going to store this across multiple nodes of our blockchain solution. And so yeah, so they have these they have their own layer 2 blockchain, they call it, and across that they run this multi-party computation that then allows multiple parties to sign a transaction. And they use that blockchain that they have, this layer 2 solution. It would probably be more of a sidechain, I guess, definition wise. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. So what they use that blockchain for is to keep track of what wallet owns what, and then that can then sort of build or define who of the custody users holds which tokens, right? So if you look at the diagram here, you really have your layer 1 blockchain, and you would have a custody user that on this layer 1 blockchain would have Bitcoin, Ethereum, and they support a bunch of others as well, and they're working on supporting more, obviously. So you'd have separate wallets for these, but instead of you holding your own tokens, instead of you holding your own private key, you don't actually get a private key in a sense here. You get access to this service, and the private key for it is distributed among different nodes. And then so what that enables you to do is kind of a multi-sig arrangement. So you might have, like in a fund, I guess that would work, you would have multiple people who would have access to that multi-sig, and if they'd want to do a transaction, then multiple people would have to sign that. And in this case, then that goes not via a normal multi-sig, but this goes through this multi-party computation that then can transact on this layer 1 blockchain, but also in theory can transact on their own blockchain, and I'll talk about that a little bit, right? So if you're this custody users and you hold your tokens with Qredo, then they have on their own protocol, they have these synthetic assets. So you have a synthetic version of Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's backed 1-to-1 with what you have, or at least they have all the funds kind of access through that wallet. And what these synthetic assets allow you to do, you can then, among all the tokens basically that are in this MPC model, you can trade your tokens among other users. And so they've established this normal concept that you might know of a market maker and a trader, right? So a trader can access the market maker, and this is really not an automated market maker, but a traditional market maker. So he would hold some sort of funds, and then you could do like a request for quotation, like say you want to do some specific trade, Bitcoin for Ethereum, and then you could do that, or traders could even do atomic swaps with each other, so trade tokens 1-for-1 with each other. So And all that happens kind of on these synthetic assets, right? So we'll have this MPC technology that enables this custody to access the tokens. They're then represented by synthetic assets, and within this Qredo or Qredo landscape, they can then be traded. And users can access them. And in order to do that, like for a market maker to get started, he needs to stake some Qredo, kind of like the normal process, right? To deposit some coins so that we trust you sort of model. And then, he kind of has this inventory wallet that's also on this Qredo protocol where he deposits his layer 1 tokens, and then they're held in here, and the market maker can then build up his own multi-sig range and things like that. So that's kind of how that process works. And Qredo has its own treasury in the protocol. I think they're in the process of launching a DAO. They might have already. So yeah, the trading fees, they're collected in layer 1 tokens. So the protocol, if there's a trade happening between Bitcoin and Ethereum, then Qredo will collect a part of these synthetic assets. There's some, I don't know how many basis points that is, but you can read it in the document that I'll link below. They'll collect some of these fees into their own treasury. And then what happens once in a while, they will request a quote from a market maker to exchange the L1 tokens that they have collected in the Qredo treasury for Qredo tokens, right? So the market maker will then kind of execute that swap, and he gets, I think, up to 20% of the layer 1 tokens. But that means the market maker will kind of have to get Qredo tokens, and with that creating somewhat of a demand, right, for these Qredo tokens. And so then the Qredo protocol gets rid of the L1 tokens that it has amassed during these or with these transaction fees or trading fees, and will get Qredos in return, which they can use to burn, I guess, or do something else with. Then it is a proof of stake, at least their layer 2, and that means they have validators, and validators need to stake Qredo to get that role as a validator, and they're paid in Qredo, of course, as rewards, like the normal proof of stake process. And then there's a bunch of initial distribution of these 2 billion Qredo tokens, and a reward is paid out to validators, paid out to custody users, paid out to traders, and paid out to market makers. So the usual kind of thing that a lot of protocols have to get it going is they use their funds that they have the minted, like these tokens that they have minted, and they distribute them throughout the ecosystem. And this is a slow process for Qredo, so they have reserved a certain amount of time to do that and distribute these tokens and really stimulate their own economy as such. Cool, yeah. I hope this all makes sense. And thanks for watching.